It's a quiet weekday afternoon. A stranger knocks on the door. He's polite. He's dressed like he could be anyone. A delivery uniform, sometimes just khakis and a lanyard, sometimes nothing at all official looking. He says calmly that he's here to pick something up. And the elderly man on the other side of that door hands him a shoebox holding $400,000 in gold bars, his entire retirement. The stranger says thank you, walks back to his car, and drives away. There's a real chance he has no idea he just helped commit a felony. Gold is having a moment, and scammers noticed before anyone else did. In an anxious economy, move your savings into something the banks can't touch sounds like smart advice instead of a red flag. Gold has spent the last few years as the thing responsible people are told to trust when they don't trust anything else. Scammers just found a way to stand at the end of that instinct, holding a bag. This year alone, federal prosecutors say gold bar and cash courier scams have stolen more than $50 million from older Americans. And that's just the cases they've counted so far. One federal tracking period put national losses over $260 million. In Wisconsin alone, victims lost more than $8 million in 10 months. In Winnebago County, one woman lost over $400,000, her entire retirement savings, to a single visit from a man she had never met before that afternoon. The FBI's Boston field office issued a public warning this year because the volume had gotten that bad. The Justice Department has charged people in Missouri for defrauding elderly victims this exact way. Federal courts have handed down real prison time. One courier was sentenced to 15.5 years for collecting gold and cash from victims across the country. Another in Illinois was sentenced this year for a scheme that reached a victim in Kansas City. This isn't a rumor passed around in a Facebook group. It's an active, growing federal caseload. Retirees are sitting on decades of liquid savings, often alone during the day when these calls come in, and many grew up trusting a calm, official-sounding voice on the phone. Because for most of their lives, on a landline, that voice usually was exactly who it claimed to be. Scammers aren't guessing at that trust. They're spending it, one polite phone call at a time. So who is that man at the door? Some couriers are knowing accomplices. A couple was arrested in Delaware this year, clearly part of the operation, clearly aware. But investigators say many couriers are something else entirely. People who answered an online ad for same-day courier or delivery work, $800 to $4,000 a job, no experience required. They think they're picking up a package for a logistics company. Nobody tells them what's inside the bag, and most of them never ask. The organizers running this, often overseas, coordinating everything by phone and encrypted chat, don't need a criminal mastermind driving to your house. They need someone with a car and 30 minutes, willing to follow an address and a script without wondering why a one-stop courier gig pays $4,000. That's the design, and it's the same design behind money mule networks in almost every wire fraud operation. Distance protects the people at the top. The victim only ever sees the courier. The courier often only ever sees an app or a text with an address. Nobody in the middle has to understand the whole picture, so nobody in the middle can hand investigators the whole picture either, which is exactly why these cases take federal agencies months to build. One courier and one victim at a time. The job postings themselves are built for that plausible deniability. They read like any gig economy listing. Local courier needed, flexible hours, cash paid same day. Nothing in the ad mentions gold or elderly customers or a script to follow at the door. By the time a recruit is handed an address and a pickup time, they've already accepted a job that sounded ordinary. And that plausible deniability creates a real legal headache for prosecutors. Charge every courier as a knowing criminal, and you risk convicting genuinely duped gig workers who were victims of the same organizers. Let every courier walk, and the last mile system that actually moves the stolen money keeps running. Investigators increasingly say the answer is upstream, building cases against the organizers running the calls and the jewelry store networks laundering the gold. not just the gig worker who answered an ad without ever asking what was actually in the bag. Now here's how it actually reaches your door, because the setup matters as much as the pickup. It starts with a scare, not a request. A pop-up on your computer or a phone call out of nowhere claims your bank account or your identity has been compromised. You call the number on the screen, or the caller says they're from your bank's fraud department or a federal agency. They sound calm, professional, almost reassuring, which is the point. They tell you hackers are already inside your account, that your money isn't safe where it sits, and that the only way to protect it is to convert it, not wire it, convert it into gold, because gold can't be frozen and can't be traced. Which sounds like protection and is actually the opposite. The moment it leaves your hands, it's untraceable for them too. They walk you through which coin shop or dealer to visit and what to say if a teller or a jeweler asks questions, because sometimes those workers do ask, and the script on the other end of the phone has an answer ready for that too. Then comes the final instruction. A government official, a bank auditor, a special courier, will come to your home to take the gold into protective custody. They give you a name, sometimes a fake badge number, a case number, anything with the texture of officialdom. And they stay on the phone with you through the entire handoff, so you never get a quiet moment to call your bank, your children, or the police. Once that box changes hands, there's no protective custody waiting anywhere. Investigators have traced this exact pipeline. The courier drives the gold to a local meeting point or hands it directly to a jewelry store that's part of the network, a business that melts it down or resells it fast before any bank or investigator can trace the bars back to a specific victim. From there, the value gets wired out, often overseas, in pieces small enough not to trigger the reporting rules that would catch one giant transfer. Federal agents have raided jewelry stores functioning exactly this way, used to launder stolen gold at industrial speed. Your retirement savings become untraceable metal within hours of leaving your driveway. Put the two numbers next to each other and the scale lands harder. $260 million in reported losses in under a year, moved almost entirely through a high-tech scam that ends in the oldest transaction there is. A stranger, a driveway, a handoff. The call center may run on the same tools as any modern fraud operation. The last step still runs on cash and trust, which is exactly why it works on people who grew up trusting a knock at the door. Here's the tell, and it's one sentence. No government agency and no real bank will ever ask you to convert your savings to gold or cash and hand it to a stranger at your door. Not the FBI, not the IRS, not Medicare, not your bank's fraud department. That single request is the entire scam, wearing whatever costume the caller picked that morning. A few more signs every time. They manufacture urgency and keep you on the phone the whole way through so you never hang up to think. They tell you not to mention it to your family, because a family member is the one person likely to say the word scam out loud. They offer a badge number instead of a callable office line you can verify. And the safety they're selling always ends the same way. Your money leaving your hands, headed toward a person you cannot identify and will never see again. Compare that to how real asset protection actually works. A real bank freezes an account remotely in minutes with a phone call you initiated. A real federal agency mails you paperwork with a case number you can look up and never asks you to buy anything on your way to compliance. No legitimate institution on earth needs a physical courier at your front door within the hour to keep your money safe, because safety, done properly, doesn't require you to hold gold bars in a shoebox in the first place. If this already happened to you, move fast, because speed matters more here than almost any other scam we've covered. 4 things in order. 1. If any handoff is still in progress or the caller is still on the line, hang up now and don't hand over anything else, no matter what they say next. 2. Call your local police and file a report immediately. This is an active, coordinated federal investigation area, and every report helps agents connect couriers to networks they're already building cases against. 3. File with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center at IC3.gov, the same system feeding those Missouri and Boston cases. 4. Call your real bank yourself, using the number printed on your card, never a number the caller gave you, and ask them to flag your accounts, because a scammer who successfully ran this once often calls back months later, posing as someone who can help you recover it. This scam won't stop because it's cheap to run and it barely touches the internet where most fraud defenses live. A phone call, a coin shop, a driveway. No firewall catches a stranger picking up a shoebox. The only thing that reliably stops it is the one moment before the handoff, when someone hangs up first and calls a person they actually trust instead of the polite stranger already standing on the porch. Tell the retirees in your life about the courier at the door before a stranger ever knocks on theirs. Subscribe for a new scam taken apart every week, because next week it's a different costume and it ends with the exact same sentence.